Paris. City of love. City of light. Fashion capital of the world. Where dreams are made of. Well, that's not always true. Living in Paris can be a dream and beautiful, but it can also be really, really difficult. And that's why I created a podcast, C'est la vie with Katie Pratt. And today I'm going to give you a little snippet of the podcast, exploring some of the great and the bad moments of the city with my guests. Like Kate, an author who only read about the idealized version of the city. And then she moved here and experienced the bureaucracy, the red tape, the racism. Listen to her recount her story here.
It is kind of obvious, like, how much of it is kind of just for show. And, like, they're not talking about, like, the 5-hour wait at the prefecture or, like, walking along the Seine and having people yell ni hao at you everywhere you go. But, like, of course, that wouldn't make a nice Instagram post, so they're not going to post about that.
Or Wafa, as she would describe herself, a Muslim woman, Iraqi-born, British citizen, and now French citizen. She talked about her fears of the country and the Islamophobia that was rampant, and this was even before the 2021 bills that were passed. Listen to her recount her story here.
Human rights, you accept a person for who they are, background, political affiliation, sexual affiliation, gender, religious, however they want to dress, speak. And then you have France where they say, yes, but you can't wear a hijab, you can't wear a religious symbol, you cannot participate in civic duties, life, because of religion. You know, they're looking at women and how they dress. It's layer upon layer of just racism, patriarchal feminism, and then Islamophobia, and it's just different levels of hatred.
But Paris isn't all that. There's some really incredible moments. Moments of love, of friendship, of laughter and culture, dancing, singing, music. It's a really beautiful city, but it takes a lot of courage to move here. Hear how Tanisha explains what it was like when she moved to Paris.
Do I want to look at my niece and say, okay, girl, let me tell you this story. I moved to D.C. and I live there. The end. Like, who wants to hear that story? But when I tell her the story, okay, girl, listen, there once was a woman who wanted to do something different. She packed a suitcase and then she got on a plane to Paris and she lived there for 15 years. Which story is better? And she went through the terrorist attacks and the strikes of 2019 and the coronavirus of 2020 and whatever else happens. I want to tell that last story.
I think Kate summarizes life in Paris the best. The good, the bad, what it's like explaining it to others. Listen here.
When you tell people you're living in Paris, they immediately have this vision of what they think your life is like. And I do feel really lucky to live here. I think, like, it is a lot of privilege for me to be able to live in a foreign city and have a visa to live here. But because of that, you feel like you're not justified in complaining, because when I talk to my friends back home, I'll start complaining, but they're like, oh, but you're in Paris.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you do feel like you're kind of being ungrateful. It is like this weird kind of balance you have to keep in your mind when you're talking about your life in Paris.
If you want to learn more about the city and what it's like living here for foreigners and locals alike, subscribe to my podcast, C'est la vie with Katie Pratt.